Such practices always reminds me of the Ionical phrase, wolves in sheep's clothing. Aiko, but when will we stop this madness? Because I know that we will only gather to celebrate their life only after they are gone. But I always wonder and ask, why these voices never showered them praises when they were here? Before their demise, we judged them and said hell was going to be their portion. By why then do we sing and praise now that their souls make to the heavens? All of a sudden, we will begin to portray an act of generosity, but that is a sign of hypocrisy fused with insanity. Pardon me for my words, but you and I know there is no sense in the posthumous honor. Not only a few, but many have been a culprit, so this madness must stop. How pathetic that the lives of El Greco, Gregor Johann Mendel, Emily Dickinson, and our own Ebony Reigns rest in their graves not knowing our date your father still reigns. Oh Pharisees, why not show us all the love that you could when all our senses are active and not when become captive? I wouldn't be surprised that Patapao will one day be celebrated and be called a legend. And one corner will be sung over and over. Shockingly, the saints will dance to the same piece they tagged as diabolic. What a shame in fast stupidity. Not only a few, but many have been a culprit of it. Who knows that then Sabodia could have saved their life, or maybe the praises we're sharing now could have placed a smile on their face. An encouragement rather than insult could have made a difference. So why await their departure before we call them unsung heroes? May Uchediampon forgive us all. A word to the wise is enough. If you dare shake fake tears and refuse to change, my Ostamai will strongly be on guard. So this madness must stop. Thank you. Our goals and dreams are mostly found on the apex of a cliff, and that becomes our nemesis. But getting there looks arduous for we to climb, except only when we have to fight. But still, man has to try. Because the ultimate measure of a man is not when he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but when he stands in times of challenge and controversy. You cannot swim for new horizons until you have courage to lose sight of the shore. But despite our cupidity for billions, we find it difficult to dare with our million. But I would say it's not a defect, but it's just a flaw. Because risk-taking never form a fragment of our life. And we defeatists are not surprised we fail because our plan for success is planned along with failure. As we think, our prospects can be negative and bitter. But I always say it's not a bad idea, but it's just a flaw. Because endurance was written off in our adventure. Nothing great will ever be achieved without great men, and men are great only if they are determined to be so. For great men struggle with dauntless optimism and commitment in spite of the disappointment they face. But fighting hard is not about ammunitions or ammunition, but it's about fighting with determination to achieve your ambition. The man who moves a mountain begins by carrying small stones. So it doesn't matter how slowly you move, as long as you do not stop, there is always a possibility for you to make it. Because people fail several times and they kept on. But you are just being slow when you look dismayed. Except for the reasons I don't know, unless you tell the world you were specially made. A good fighter always makes winning a vote and ambition, and only accept defeat when there is no power and strength to continue his mission. So with your gumption and advice, despite the godless attitude and the southern, but pick up courage and remain gutsy. As you continue to make your dreams a fantasy, you realize it has always become a reality. The road to greatness might not be smooth, so along the way, you might slip and fall. But rise up pronto and continue the journey you began. Because the only difference between the successful and others is not lack of strength or lack of knowledge, but rather a lack of will. So continue to grapple to read the papers of your desires and try nothing. Nothing becomes a debility to block your success. For you know what? The greatest act of faith someday is to simply get up and face another day. These are my flaws of life. Thank you very much.
Woohoo! Against bad boy, jealousy go shame. What's up, guys? Your boy Kitty, and right now you are watching Breakfast Daily. Oh, Lord of mercy. Let's go.
Good morning, Ghana. Good morning, world. You're in tune to the Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. Stoneboy says so. Keep it locked. Don't log off. Bim. Hey family, my name is Joe Metal and you're watching Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. Keep watching, don't go nowhere.
Happy Tuesday.
So this one Tuesday, second Tuesday of the
stop it. It's the 14th. It's the 14th day of August.
You're
almost. I know. We're almost halfway through
you're
August.
ahead of your time. That's fine. That's fine. Interesting.
How are you?
I'm good. I feel okay. I mean, I'm a bit disappointed with some news I had in relation to vigilantism, which I think we'll be discussing shortly.
What happened? Tell me.
Yeah,
I think we should just delve right into it.
Yes. Yesterday, it just hit me. You know, Kandahar boys have chased out the CEO of Tamale Teaching Hospital, and I'm like, still, like, is this still going on? Yeah. As at now in this? Because initially, you know, when you speak to political leaders, you get the sense that there's a form of acceptance. Whenever there's a change in government, there's a form of, we accept a level of vigilantism where people would go and lock even public toilets. People would chase out those who are collecting the coins in front of public toilets. Oh, come on, this happens. From toll booths and the like. We heard all these things. So there seemed to be a sense of acceptance where there's a change in government. This will happen, let's say, maybe during the first few weeks of the transition. But going forward, almost 2 years into governance, and we are still hearing vigilantism here, vigilantism there, CEO from here, chased out, CEO from there. It's very, very upsetting to hear this still. And we still have police institutions in this country. We still have, security institutions in this country. And you see, you may not be able to stop this from happening. However, after it happens, what do you do? What you do after will go a long way to determine whether this would even happen again. You understand? So we are still quite waiting. Anyway, let's just get straight to an intro first before we get into this. This matter is very, very dear to my heart. Vigilantism must stop at some point.
And I also think, I heard that they disassociated themselves from it, actually. So we'll hear more about it as we go. But this is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. We are live from our studios at Adabraka, right behind the police station. As you can see, Adabraka is behind us. And we are your lovely hosts, Jifa Ekia Amatam.
And I'm Isaac Obofos Mensa.
Now remember, we want to keep this conversation interactive, so always send your comments, your suggestions, your messages with the hashtag Breakfast Daily.
You can also join us via WhatsApp on 0550-585-832. You can see the WhatsApp line on your screen right now. So hashtag Breakfast Daily on all social media platforms, and of course the WhatsApp line. WhatsApp line.
That's what
0550. That's what I just said.
Yeah. But if you're just stepping out of your house and you still want to watch us, we are live on citinewsroom.com/TV. So you can literally watch us on your mobile phone, wherever it is that you are. Thank you so much for being with us. It's a lovely day. The sun is out. Yesterday was a bit cloudy, but today's a bright day.
It rained a bit yesterday. Yeah. Well, clearly it will be cloudy in some places, even sunny in others, but it was nice. It was nice to see some rain. It was quite refreshing. Anyway, so also, well, in respect of the banking industry, we'll just touch on that really briefly. A statement has been issued by Dr. Mensah Otabil. There has been calls for him to speak. We know even Arthur Kennedy even made such a request that, you know what, I think Otabil should speak on this. Everyone has been calling for him to speak. Many people have been calling for him to speak. So we will just take a look at the press statement. It should be on your screens pretty shortly. Yeah. And we shall read it out to you for the benefit of those who may not be able to follow. And we'll have a discussion with Nathan Kwao. He is also a seasoned journalist right here at Citi FM and Citi TV. He shall be joining us for the discussion. So we take a look at a projection from how all this started to now, to the press statement, and we'll see, you know, moving ahead, what's next? So
and I can actually just read along as they watch it as well.
Please do.
Yes.
It will be an honor to hear you read.
Oh, okay. So I'll try my best to do my Otabel voice. No, let me stop.
You can't do an Otabel voice.
Press release from Pastor Mensa Otabel. RE Capital Bank and related matters. Greetings. 1. So I think there are 9 points. So I'll just start with the first point. I have observed with concern the ongoing media discussions regarding developments in the banking sector and my role either directly or indirectly. I accepted to be board chairman of Capital Bank in a bid to help strengthen a promising Ghanaian enterprise that had potential but also challenges. I was excited about the prospect of a young man from a disadvantaged background who was daring to create opportunities and employment. 3, my position was a non-executive role. I was therefore not involved in the day-to-day management and operations of the bank. 4, in the course...
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll just let them read it because I think the text does not match what I'm reading. So we just...
Yes, just continue.
In the course of time, some decisions made turned out well, while some did not turn out well as had been anticipated. As far as I can tell, everything was done with the best of intentions and the interest of various stakeholders in mind. 5. My foremost concern, as has been the case over the past year, is for the well-being of those who lost their jobs and those who may have been adversely affected in any way as a result of these developments. My heart goes out to them and to their dependents. I continue to pray for God's guidance and sustenance as they navigate the course of their lives. 6. Since the takeover of the bank exactly a year ago today, various mandated state institutions have been investigating and working to arrive at a comprehensive understanding of what happened, why it happened, and who was responsible for what. I have been invited by Yoko, and I have submitted myself to their processes and answered all their questions faithfully. 7. For some time now, many discussion platforms have made varied references to me and to my perceived role. Some have reached out to me for clarifications regarding issues that have been raised. I have preferred not to respond in the public domain, not as an admission of guilt, but out of respect for the due process and the ongoing investigations. 8. Notwithstanding some unforeseen outcomes, I remain resolute in my belief in the Ghanaian and the African entrepreneurial spirit. I will therefore continue to lend my support and mentorship to inspire others who dare to dream and work towards the promise of Africa's growth and transformation. 9. Meanwhile, as a believer in the rule of law, I will continue to cooperate with the mandated institutions of the state as they complete their investigations. I am confident that in the process, the national interest and the rights of all parties involved will be protected. Shalom, peace and life to you. Signed, Pastor Mensa Otabel, 14th August 2018.
Interesting. So those are that is the statement from Pastor Mensa Otabel, and we have been joined in the studio by Nathan Khae. Nathan Khae is a lecturer and, like I said, a seasoned journalist right here at Citi FM and Citi TV. Good morning, Nathan.
Hi, good morning.
Okay, Nathan, so you have seen the statement, issued out from Dr. Mensah Otabil, and he has actually been named in this banking brouhaha severally. I mean, there's been, even on social media, there's been a sort of division. Some say I stand with Otabil, hashtag became quite a craze, and then some also were against those saying I stand with Otabil, and some were actually on the fence saying, you know what, let's just wait, guys. Let's just wait for a full conclusive report to come out officially. So I'll take your comments on especially this letter Jifa just read.
Well, you know, just like you said in your introduction, lots of people had been waiting to hear from him because he was mentioned, and even if he wasn't mentioned, it was public knowledge that he was linked to one of the banks that went down, Capital Bank, that happened exactly a year ago today. So it was important that he shared his thoughts and opinions on what had happened or what is happening now. And he's put out this statement, like Jifa read, a 9-point statement detailing his role. He says it was a non-executive role. He wasn't in charge of the day-to-day activities, and that he respects the process and he will be willing to take part in the process just so we can all have some closure. Because that's important. We need to understand what happened and, of course, those who are responsible, so that, you know, the law can deal with those people as stated in the Constitution or as stated with whatever laws that regulate the banking sector. So this is the statement that has come out, and I'm sure it will, I don't know if we'll hear more from him, but I'm sure those involved, because we've heard Mr. Atuesi, and he also, I think, is supposed to release the statement today. Yes, and he's been mentioned several times in the you know, various reports that we have been speaking about online and on Citi TV and on Citi FM, on the breakfast show and all that. So, yes, so now that this statement has come, we just have to wait and see what the process brings up next in terms of who was involved or who wasn't involved, and we figure out our way forward from there.
So, Nathan, let's piggyback a bit. Can you give us a broad overview of Capital Bank and how the pastor got involved and just what his role actually means?
Well, Capital Bank started off as First Capital Plus Savings and Loans. They're about 2014 thereabout, and then they moved on. They got a banking license. They became First Capital Plus Bank. And for those of us in the sporting world, remember them so well because they were sponsoring the Ghana Premier League at that time, about 2014, 2015. And then they rebranded, and then it became Capital Bank. And then not too long after that, we heard that they had challenges and eventually were taken over by GCB exactly a year ago. So there was an early morning like this. The story caused absolute pandemonium in this country. Eventually, all their branches got turned into GCB and all of that. Then the Bank of Ghana didn't really tell us what happened. But over time, it started to emerge that they had a few challenges with liquidity and all of that. And eventually, the bank went under. A year on, not too long ago, you know, from today or a few weeks back, we had other banks, Sovereign Bank, Construction Bank, Beige, and other banks coming together to form the Consolidated Bank under the direction of the BOG, because those banks were struggling. After that, an analysis was done, or a bit of a diagnosis, to figure out what went wrong. And then it emerged that somehow they also had the same challenges as Capital Bank, liquidity problems. And then they found out that some characters who were related to Capital Bank were named as some people behind Sovereign Bank, and the report stated that they used allegedly some money that the Bank of Ghana gave them as liquidity support to essentially move it about and essentially end up as what became the bedrock of Sovereign Bank. So that's really how we got here. And because Dr. Mensah Otabil was board chair of First Capital Plus Savings and Loans, which became a bank, which became Capital Bank, his name has popped up a few times in the report. That's his response to all the conversations that have gone on as to, okay, you were board chairman, did you know what happened? Did you not know? How could this have gone on your blind side? And all the questions that have popped up, you know, in relation to the banks that have gone under.
Can you let us know the role of a board chairman?
Well, I mean, if you're a board chairman of a bank, now we do know that banking is a very, very rigorous area. Rigorous area, and you cannot do things on the blind side of the board. Isaac is here. He knows, he's a man of the law.
Because we have even, let me read quickly. We have a definition here of a chair of board. And it says, what is a chair of board? A chair of the board holds the most power and authority on the board of directors and provides leadership to the firm's officers and executives. The chair of the board ensures that the firm's duties to shareholders are being fulfilled by acting as a link between the board and upper management.
Yes.
Now, what does this mean?
So essentially means that if you have a company, you split the company into two. There's, let's say, an MD, for example. The managing director looks at the people below him. So his general manager, executives, everybody down there. And then the MD reports to a higher authority, which is the board. And the board is headed by a person called the board chairman. So essentially, a bank or any institution is run from the very top by a board chairman. He determines where to go. He will give direction to the MD, and direction seeps all the way down to the bottom of the institution. So by extension, if we follow this statement, and by Dr. Mensah Otable's own admission, he was board chairman of Capital Bank. And even though he would say that it was a non-executive role, once he was occupying that position, we can assume that he was telling them, go left, go right, let's do this, and let's do that.
So by not being an executive director, you are not necessarily playing a role in the day-to-day running of a particular company or firm or bank or the like. So you don't have an executive position. For instance, if you're a managing director, so you are a director, but you're also playing a managing role in the firm. So a director could also be, let's say, finance, head of finance, and still be a director of the firm. A company is supposed to have at least 2 directors per law. So him saying he was not an executive director is true and fair, but then still the buck still stops with the director, because under law the company is indeed run by the directors, the board of directors. Then it goes down to other directors.
So in this case,
is it okay to assume that perhaps he had a passive role, like as he rightly said, he was just supporting a local entrepreneur?
It's very difficult to determine what exactly went on when the board met and what his mandate was, because if he says it was in a non-executive role, I'm very curious to know, for example, what was his scope of work. Could he give direction? Could he give instructions? Could he tell the bank? Or he was just there as board chairman in name and not in deed? It's very difficult to determine what exactly went on, now that he has thrown this in that it was a non-executive role. So until the investigations actually determine what he did, I don't know, it's very difficult.
I think, in my humblest of opinions, I think not playing a non-executive role does not absolve you from responsibilities as a director. The fact that you do not play a non-executive role, maybe because the person
have given
who played
some opinion and some input to a lot of the major decisions.
I mean, whether or not you gave an opinion, you are still a director. There's a lot of responsibility placed on your role as a director.
Well,
so and by itself,
maybe I'm a bit confused, because what I'm understanding is if he's not aware of the day-to-day operations, then that means a lot of things can miss him. Is this similar to this is very silly, but just for the view of the benefit of everyone who may be lost, is it similar to saying I have a mentor and my mentor is active or inactive, a passive mentor versus an active mentor? Or should you hold a higher responsibility to a board chair who isn't an executive?
Once you are the board chair of a financial institution or any entity, you must play a role in everything that happens. You cannot accept the title in name and be absent when it comes to the function. So why are you there?
Because even to be an executive, I'm just trying to strike a difference between executive director and director. So an executive director would, for instance, so if you are like managing director or director of finance, you are still taking your monies as a director, and then extra money for the executive role you're playing. So if you're head of finance, you're taking money for being head of finance as well as being a director.
But I want to
when he says his position was a non-executive role, by law, what would that mean? Would it mean that he would not have any input whatsoever in the bank's management and direction?
He would have input. Being a director, you would have input, because the company is indeed run by directors first and foremost. The directors in board meetings, first and foremost. But then he is not playing an executive role, as in, for instance, I'm going back to the example of general manager or head of finance. So you are not playing that extra role. You are not burdened with that extra responsibility. Does not mean that the natural responsibilities.
Was to be on the board as the chair.
Yes. So being on the board as the chair makes you, it sort of puts more responsibility on you. So you are not playing, the executive functions are not connected to you being a director at all per se. The executive functions are dealing with the day-to-day running of the program. Let's say there's a sports company you are one of the named directors. You know, when you're registering a company,
Yes,
you have to
list
the directors of the
yes.
company. So you're one of the named directors. So are we going to go outside your expertise as a sportsman to find a managing director for that particular company? Exactly. So then you fill in the slot as an executive director. You understand? So you fill in the slot as an executive director. So that does not absolve you from your responsibilities as being a director. So we are not going to call you manager because you are indeed a director. So it doesn't matter which name you are even called. Some people call themselves general managers. The law would focus on the role you are playing in the company.
So,
if you indeed,
Nathan and Wilberforce, I just want to read the second point.
Yes.
He said, I accepted to be board chairman of Capital Bank in a bid to help strengthen a promising Ghanaian enterprise and that had potential, but also I was excited about the prospect of a young man from a disadvantaged background who was daring to create opportunities and employment.
Yes.
So in this, there's no mention of financial reasons, right? Pastor Mesotable is not a banker. He's not in the financial sector.
Yes.
And even, I think, Amwabeng, the UT Bank, he wrote a foreword. He wrote a foreword for a book. And he even admitted it that once the company was scaling, all kinds of people came in and the culture changed. So can you really put the responsibility of this on a man who just tried to help a promising young entrepreneur?
Well, he was part of an entity that went down, that got taken over and had challenges. So clearly nothing would have happened on his blind side. And like he admitted, he's been invited to answer questions, and it's in order that if we all have links to a certain institution and something happens, everybody who has a link, whether minute or grand, needs to come forward and answer questions. That, okay, did you know this? Did you know that? Because if you follow the builder's report, the things that are stated in that report, things are so huge and very, very surprising that this would go on the blind side of the board. Now, let's not forget that the bank is essentially directed by a board, not one person, the board. And once you are part of the board, you have to answer a few questions as to what happened. Did you know this? Did you not know this? I think that when everybody gets questioned, you have a better understanding of the scale of the problem. And then when you are designing the punitive measures, you know, okay, this person was very innocent, but by virtue of being part of the board, you should have acted more responsibly. So here is your punishment. Somebody else gets a bigger one. Somebody gets the biggest one. So I don't think we can have this conversation and absolve the man of God from this. Yes, I can understand all the public reaction that has come out of it, and it's very fair. But you also need to understand that if something happens and he's part of an entity, he has to answer questions. It's like his own church, ICGC. Assuming something happens to ICGC, are we going to say that he shouldn't answer any question? No, clearly not. So
but ICGC is a pastor.
Yes, once he's linked to an institution and he admits that he was board chairman, now assuming that or accepting that role comes with its own responsibility. And I suspect that the basic of such responsibilities is just checking if everything is going well.
Because they would indeed ordinarily, even as mandated by law, they will have board meetings. If not for nothing at all, there will be an AGM and the likes. So there will definitely be a sort of meeting of the board from time to time.
For everybody to know.
Yes. So the head of finance will come and give a financial report, head of procurement will come and give the report, everyone will come and give the reports, minutes will be taken and the likes. So so yes, so in that particular meeting, he is the board chair. He's chairing over such a meeting. So he's not playing an executive role. Does not mean he is not concerned with the business of the company.
Because he will be privy
now briefly,
to
what do we learn from this in general? Because we see that beyond the banking sector, a lot of Ghanaian businesses don't last past a generation. So what are some lessons we can learn from even his release alone?
Well, it's not even this. I just think that this is just a minute part. I think that the greater story from the banks that have gone under, and by extension most Ghanaian companies, is corporate governance. Learn to be disciplined. Go according to the rules and always check what is going on. You see, because you can claim that you don't know anything, but when it goes down, you will be called in to answer questions. And if you go through the entire story from day one till now, it's just you find that certain characters did not behave properly. They didn't act as well as they should have acted. That's my first lesson. The second lesson is that if there's a regulatory body that is supervising a domain, that body will have to do its work well. Because the Boulders report mentioned that some banks got their licenses through fraudulent means. Now, this is a huge indictment on the Bank of Ghana, and by extension, anybody who's supervising. So if you are supervising, check that the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, everything is in order. Because when things go bad, not only will that entity that has gone under be queried, you, the supervisor, will also be asked serious questions. Because if you did your work well, things should have been checked. I think the final lesson for me is that most entities need to understand that you cannot run a one-man business. I think that's what kills a lot of Ghanaian businesses, that only one person is in charge. They are not ready and willing to allow other shareholders to come on board. The concept of equity value is really lost. I think if you start to expand and you start to allow people who may have one greater expertise to money, which will drive everything, and maybe a common interest, I think if Ghanaian enterprises tried a lot more of these, you find that the businesses would last. Not, in the absence of, let's say, when the owner or the founder passes on, the business can still last and still solve a lot of the problems it was even set up to create.
Thank you very much. And still flowing from what you said, it's very important. That's why even the Gowers report on the reason for having two directors at the same time, at all times, is for continuity of company, so that when one person dies, the company doesn't end. Anyway, thank you very much, Nathan Kwao. Nathan Kwao is, he is a seasoned broadcast journalist, and of course, he is a lecturer seasoned broadcast journalist with us here at Citi TV. I was about to say he's a lecturer at Citi TV. Well, he does lecture us sometimes. Thank you very much, Nathan Kwao, for joining us. Now, up next is the news review segment for today. Remember to join us with your comments via the hashtag Breakfast Daily, and do not forget the WhatsApp line
0550-585-832. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
For regular news checks as they unfold. 2020 news, all day, all the time. Politics, sports, entertainment, business, and more. 2020 news. We bring you the world in 20 minutes.
And that's all the news in 20 minutes.
Go.
Spend 30 minutes every weekday catching up with all the trending social media conversations of the day. If you tweet it, we'll read it. We might just even Skype you.
Just, no matter your situation, you can rise to the top.
Absolutely.
You really
and
can.
It's interesting that he wrote this article on the 17th of June, and on the 18th of June, yesterday, he actually scored 2 goals in the Belgium World Cup meet.
30 minutes is all it takes, so use the hashtag 30minutes on social media to catch our attention. Join the most interactive social media TV show weekdays at 5 p.m. only on Citi TV.
For regular news checks as they unfold. 2020 news, all day, all the time. Politics, sports, entertainment, business, and more. 2020 news. We bring you the world in 20 minutes.
And that's all the news in 20 minutes.
Okay, welcome back to Breakfast Daily. Now it's time for the news review segment for today. And before we introduce our guest, we shall take a look at some of the stories making the rounds before, we get into the topics. Yes. Anyway, I just want to say once again that you can join us with the hashtag Breakfast Daily on all social media platforms, and of course, not forgetting the WhatsApp line 0550-585-832. 0550
585-832.
Okay, so let's just take a look at some of the stories making the rounds. I'll start off with the Daily Graphic. The Daily Graphic has slapped very largely on its front page 71 students duped, expected confab suspected to be fake, visas revoked. The full story is on page 3. Interesting read, and a caution to many people who want to leave the country on various reasons or for various reasons. President launches program against deforestation, desertification. There's a beautiful picture here of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo watering a plant at the venue of the launch. And also Ghana Teacher Prize introduced. Interesting. And finally, President inaugurates first company under 1D, 1F. The first company under 1D, 1F has been inaugurated. That story is on page 46 this morning of the Daily Graphic.
Okay, on to the Ghanaian Times. Greed, corruption led to collapse of 5 banks. That's coming from the chairman of the Christian Council, and that story is on page 18. VEEP cuts soared for construction of $45 million housing project for police. That story is on page 15. Kandahar boys chase out Tamale Teaching Hospital CEO. Kandahar boys chase out Tamale Teaching Hospital CEO. That story is on page 17. And finally, 20,000 jobs for youth as president launches youth in afforestation program. That story is on page 16.
Okay, now let's take a look at the Chronicle. The Chronicle has it here that government recruits 20,000 youth for afforestation program. The full story is on page 3 this morning of the Chronicle. And also Legon bends over $64 million deal. Interesting. Alumnus sues Professor Ernest Aite et at Supreme Court. Says agreement was signed on the dark side of GOG and PPA. Now, don't tax us. We are Orthodox churches. Right, Reverend Christopher Nyako and Methodist Bishop has this to say on page 3 of the Chronicle. If they are taxing churches, they are taxing churches. Sad. Anyway, double track system must really be temporary. Read Able Counsel on page 14 of the Chronicle this morning.
Okay, now on to the Finder. SEC cleans sector, stops fund managers from illegal investment. So that is the Securities and Exchange Commission. That story is on page 2. Government employs 20,000 in afforestation program. That's coming from the president, and the story is on page 8 of the Finder. Dr. Baumia cuts sword for 320 police housing units. That story is on page 4. 5,479 programs to perform Hajj. That story is on page 5. And finally, IOCO to probe directors, shareholders of collapsed banks. That story is on page 5 of the Finder.
Okay, now going straight to the New Crusading Guide. The New Crusading Guide says 1D, 1F on course as president commissions one project in Asokwa. He's far from an aspirant. As president, commissions one project in Asokwa. Full stories on pages 3 and 10 of the New Crusading Guide this morning. Also, Vice President Baumia cuts sword for police housing project. Also, government employs 20,000 in afforestation program. President Akufo-Addo, and trouble looms at CAGD. That's, of course, the Controller and Accountant General's Department.
Okay, now on to the Daily Statesman. President commissions car parts factory under 1D, 1F. That story is on page 4. Government tackles police accommodation. 10,000 units housing project underway. That story is on page 2. Massive afforestation project creates 20,000 jobs. So those are the stories on the front page of the Daily Statesman.
Anyway, now let's look at the Business and Financial Times. Says auditors of collapsed banks must be investigated. This is coming from an analyst. Banks in frantic merger talks. And finally, 27 defunct SOEs to be deleted from government books. 7 more to be traced. That was a really sad story. About 27 SOEs who were not state-owned enterprises, who were not officially in the system, now have to be removed. Anyway,
now we have some stories online that we should look at. I'm reading from citinewsroom.com. NPP destroying Mahama's solid foundation. That's coming from Jifa Ativo. I wasn't responsible for daily operations of Capital Bank. That's coming from Pastor Mensa Otabil. FIFA threatens to ban Ghana, cites government interference in GFA. And finally, Tamale Teaching Hospital CEO will be allowed to work. That's coming from Musa Superior.
Yes. Anyway, so we'll just introduce our guest for this morning. We are joined in the studio by George Lowe. He's the Member of Parliament for North Dai. And he's also seeking the Volta Regional Secretary seat, I believe. Is that allowed by your party rules? A Member of Parliament?
No, former Member of Parliament, so okay.
Yes, but you can
Yes.
Okay, super. Now, also, we've been joined by Eric Amakuchum. He's a senior communications team member with the NPP. Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Daily.
Good morning, how are you?
It's good to have both of you here again.
Awesome.
Okay, now we'll go straight to our first story.
Reading from the page 17 of the Ghanaian Times says, Kandahar boys chase out Tamale Teaching Hospital CEO. So I think the story broke yesterday, and I'm going to read a few lines. The Chief Executive Officer of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, Dr. David Kobila, was yesterday morning chased out of his office by a group calling itself Kandahar Boys. The group, believed to be supporters of the ruling New Patriotic Party, besieged the premises of the Tamale Teaching Hospital as early as 8 a.m. and ordered the CEO to pack and leave the office immediately or be forced out.
Oh, no, George Lowe. Sorry, George Lowe.
Well, good morning. It's good to be here again. Good morning, Eric. It's been a while. Good morning to our cherished viewers, and also good morning to our good people of the Volta region who I seek to serve as regional secretary. When I heard the news about this Kandahar boys thing yesterday, I said, well, we failed again. You remember that in the State of the Nation that the president firmly told us that, look, he has asked the security people to put a total stop to this kind of thing. And that we're not going to see any more of that, and that situation is firmly a thing of the past. It turns out that after that, this is about the third or the fourth incident that has happened since that promise was made. As I sit here, I don't see why the president should still keep senior security operatives in our country. Because if at the slightest whatever, some group of people, because they have party support, can go anywhere, go to a teaching hospital and throw out the chief executive. People's lives are at stake. They don't think about that. They give flimsy excuses as though they were auditors or that the person was not performing his job well. What kind of government are you running? It goes to confirm what we have said over time, that the party and the stalwarts of the party are behind these boys. Yesterday I listened to Musa Superior, and he was so excited to admit that yes, the Kandahar boys are part of our party security network. What kind of country is that? What kind of thing are we doing to this country? Tomorrow, they may as well assume the role of Bank of Ghana and go and close down banks. Because the way we are going, it means that any group of people who think that they have some political godfathers and that they are sure that when they misbehave, they will not be arrested and punished, would come to Citi FM and say that you did a story that they don't like, so close down the station and pack. That is where we are heading to. And these things will lead to all sorts of things. And it may even lead to total chaos. You know, it may lead to another Arab Spring in a different form, because it will get to a time when other political parties would say that enough is enough. And so tomorrow, if the NDC gets a group together and say, okay, Kandahar boys, we have some Baglaja boys, and therefore let's go and also do our own.
But you already have boys, just for the record.
Have you heard of any boys that are officially been outdone by the NDC?
So the Azoka boys, for instance, are not NDC officially.
You see, who is Azoka? Azoka is an individual, so you can identify that this individual has his boys. This is a party organization we are talking about. There are two different things. But let me just serve notice that it has reached a time when we would also have an official, at least some of us are pushing that we have an official group. That will stop some of this nonsense. It cannot continue anymore. It should not continue anymore. People cannot just get up in the morning and after eating some TZ decide that, look, these people cry, I think the car that the guy is driving, and it will happen to them very soon. Very soon, when they finish seizing the NDC cars, they will come after Eric and pull him out of his V8. Yes, because that's how it works. We must stop this lawlessness once and for all. And the president has the sole responsibility because he's the commander-in-chief of all the forces in this country. I wasn't surprised when Haruna reminded him, you remember, at the first state of the nation, that he is reminded that he's the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, not the invisible forces. But it's turning out that gradually he is also commander-in-chief of these other forces because they are working, they are doing things, I mean, with so much careless abandon that it creates the impression that, look, we know we are in charge, we know nobody can touch us, so we'll continue to do this. And when it happens, you see senior party members. Like I said, Musa Superior was on Umaru's show yesterday, and he admitted gleefully that these are our boys. Why won't they continue to misbehave? Something must happen. And I'm saying that if the president and his team will not resolve the problem, maybe the NDC will resolve the problem for them, and we will find a way of doing it. And when it starts, nobody should blame us. Nobody should say that we haven't won, because I will not sit down so that it touches me one day. I will not sit down.
Okay. Thank you.
Eric. Well, good morning to all our viewers. Good morning to you too. You're looking fantastic. I like your title.
Thank you.
You should give me one.
I like your hair.
But you see, it's important that as political leaders, sometimes we show a bit of circumspection with the sort of things that we say. I don't think that anybody, and I'm speaking basically for government, anybody in government would countenance any group of people, regardless of what they call themselves, to go to any facility, let alone a teaching hospital, to go and relieve the chief executive of that particular institution of their position. And government is clear and has been categorical to the fact that the security authority should be up and doing and bring these boys who did that to book. The issue of Kandahar boys, I also listened to Musa Superior, and it happens that he has a totally different interpretation of what he actually said. He said that he's aware of the Kandahar boys and that they are a group, a youth wing group in the northern region that are basically supporting or supports the MPP. However, the Kandahar boys themselves have come out to state clearly that they have absolutely no idea of what happened at the teaching hospital. There was a group calling themselves Coalition of MPP Youth
of Tamale.
Of Tamale. And I also heard that particular interview between Umaru and a guy called Baba Alassan, and that they were the ones who actually perpetrated that. And I believe strongly, and I stand by government's position that...
But Baba Alassan did say that the Kandahar boys are part of the coalition. But the
Kandahar boys themselves have come out to say they're not. You understand? So,
but this Baba Alassan purports to be their head.
Listen, you can't... That's what I'm saying, that the call for the security agencies to be up and doing and basically bring these boys to book is there, and I back that. And the MPP as a political party and the government will not countenance such behavior. Now, this morning, I would have expected that we'd be talking about 20,000 youth who have been given opportunities to support our reforestation efforts.
And you prefer we ignore the
No,
serious nature of a group of people attacking the Tamale Teaching Hospital to remove the CEO, this lawlessness. I'm just hearing from you that you would prefer that we talk about 20,000 people being given jobs as opposed to a person appointed by the president being forcefully removed from the Tamale Teaching Hospital.
I was developing a point there.
Okay.
So I feel that even if you support the MPP or if you're a youth group that supports the MPP, such behavior would distract from all the good things that government is doing. And I'm saying that I would have preferred that we would have had a conversation about the positive impact or the effect of going through an exercise of reforestation to support the environment. We all know the issues that has happen and what pertains when we do not take care of our environment. This whole issue of global warming and all of those things. So that is one thing that we should commend the president for, commend the government for actually sticking to its manifesto promise that we were going to do that. So I'm saying that this is just a distraction. For instance, yesterday, the vice president cut a sword for a police.
At this point, the distraction we are talking about,
because it sounds like you are actually.
You created your own topic for discussion and you're focusing on that.
I'm just saying,
security.
I am
right. So even if the boys didn't agree with the way the hospital was being run, they could have reported it to the police.
Exactly, but
no young person. And the day before yesterday, we heard reports of 4 policemen being gunned down in Dansoman, for example. Right. So what country are we developing if any young person can just walk into an institution and take powers into their own hands? I think this is a very serious problem that we need to address,
important.
Especially when they are pigging back on a political party.
Yes, but then I have said that the party and the government disassociates itself from that particular action, and that a call has been made to the security authorities to make sure that whoever was involved in that is brought to book. And I made a further comment that even if these people purportedly are even supporting the government, such actions actually distracts us from having conversation about positive things that the government is doing.
But do we still need the government to validate these groups?
Government has not validated any of these groups. And I am saying that, it's imperative that we have this conversation devoid of a certain entrenched view or perception. I'm saying that I know that there's a Kandahar boys group, which is basically a quasi-MPP youth wing in the northern region. They have come back to say that they are not involved in these actions. It means that a certain group of people have taken the law into their own hands. They have gone there purporting to be supporting the New Patriotic Party. I'm saying that the government has urged the security authorities and the police and the agencies over there to make sure that these boys are arrested and brought to book. So, I have stated that it is wrong. And the further comment that I made was the fact that whilst we are having this conversation, we could have been having a conversation around more positive things.
We can also have a conversation about preventative measures,
exactly,
because this could have been preempted. Couldn't it have?
That's why I'm saying that. It's important that we have this conversation. I don't want to dwell on that. Otherwise, then I'll go back to what Honorable Lowe was saying, really, which I thought was a bit irresponsible to start with. Because in one breath, you claim that there's a group out there that is not meant to even be in existence to start with. Then you're actually sitting here, preaching mayhem and all of those things, which is wrong.
No, I don't think that.
That's not what he did.
If indeed we have these kind of things going on, the government, and he's choosing his words very carefully, is urging
Go ahead and attack the Ado's house and see if they will edge the security.
But you see, another thing that
let's see action. Let's see the president showing the muscle that you.
But that is clear.
And say that look, go out there, get me those boys.
But to be fair, sorry, Eric, to be fair, I may side with Eric on the point where you seem to be suggesting that there will be counter violence.
I'm saying that if
it's not nicked in the butt, right? Because nobody's dealing with it.
Nobody seems to be dealing with. Look, the Kandahar boys. This is not their first action. This is not their second. This is like their 10th or 11th.
Which one was their first and second?
I can give you, if I went online right now, I'll give you countless things that they have done in the name of the Kandahar boys, and they are walking free. In Kumasi, people have gone to courts how did we deal with all those things? Clearly, it shows that there's no commitment to need.
To be fair, those in Kumasi were arrested.
Please, how did they go about it?
They are being prosecuted as at now.
Please, I'm saying that. Look, events are unfolded. Clearly,
it's
getting closer. You see,
sorry.
I will not sit down.
No.
Okay.
No.
Let Eric finish.
You're a lawyer. You're a lawyer. Let's allow the law to
have the power
let Eric finish. Let Eric finish, and then you come in again.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. You see, it's very important that when we get these platforms, you see, I am extremely reluctant to do this whole thing that they call equalization. But sometimes equalization is the best way to actually show how hypocritical people are. Listen, he mentioned Haruna Idrisu. Remember after the 2012 elections when it took a while for him to be appointed as a minister. The youth in Tamale burnt government installations, like billboards, NDC,
like what?
The NDC.
Let me finish. A billboard.
Let him finish.
No, don't know. You see, he wants. If he wants to equalize, put the facts out.
Let him finish.
Very well, but you should put the facts out. Right? I don't like this twisting of facts.
Just by dint of the fact that they said that it had taken a while for him to be appointed. Listen, we had issues where youth up there, even in the north, had gone to the municipal assembly to take tender documents and break all sorts of things. It's happened. You see, but that is not to suggest that all of those things should be countenanced. But you see, coming here and sitting next to him, and then all of a sudden he's pontificating and making it look like they are some kind of saints. Really, it's neither here nor there. And in all of those things, none of them, and no official from government came to condemn those acts. In this particular instance, we are condemning this act. We are actually asking the security authorities to make sure that these boys are brought to book. Right? So for me, moving forward, again, maybe we can have some preventive, proactive measures to make sure that it doesn't happen. But when it does happen, and it does happen, we should make sure that the authorities that are basically involved, right, are brought to book. It's as simple as that. And I will not sit on any platform to countenance that particular behavior. And I don't think that anybody in government or any right-thinking individual will say that by virtue of the fact that you're unhappy with somebody's tenure in office or what you deem to be incompetent or wrong, you have the right. Because we live in a society where we have to make sure that the rule of law is the one that reigns supreme. So I will not actually countenance that.
Assuming without admitting that these were indeed Kandahar boys or coalition of MPP youth or of whichever group of people went there, assuming same, because I don't think that any NDC group or neutral group will have any motivation to do anything of that sort.
Don't kill yourself.
No, that's fine. So let's just move on with it. The point is that if this is the case, then it doesn't appear that the youth groups in the MPP are listening to the president very much.
Yeah, but that is what I'm saying. That how do we know? And that is why I also believe strongly that the police and other security agencies should do their work. How do we know that they are MPP youth to start with? So the call to get them arrested also goes to show that the government's commitment to make sure that this kind of behavior is not encouraged.
Well, fortunately, there are videos circulating, so some arrests should be made. It will be a failure on the police if they don't arrest anyone for this.
When these things happen, sometimes it's important that we have this conversation outside. I listened to even the Baba Alassane, and he tried to make a justification for the reason why they were taking that action. And I think that it's untenable. You can't do that. You understand? Because there's an appointment, and he acknowledged the fact that there's an appointing authority. There's processes and procedures to follow if you think that or if you have certain grievances, you can't take the law into your own hands. And I back the call that if we allow that to happen, people can basically use all sort of parochial interest or all sort of unreasonable things to say that, oh, we don't want this individual here, we don't know what is happening there, so we are going to take over. And we can't allow a lawless state. So the police and the security authorities are being enjoined that, and I'm adding my voice to it, to make sure that these boys are brought to book.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we'll take a quick breather. News review will return. Remember to keep your messages coming through with the hashtag Breakfast Daily on all social media platforms. And of course, the WhatsApp line 0550-585-832. Stay tuned to Breakfast Daily.
My name is Juliet Asantwa Asante. Keep watching Breakfast Daily on Citi TV.
Spend 30 minutes every weekday catching up with all the trending social media conversations of the day. If you tweet it, we'll read it. We might just even Skype you.
Just, no matter your situation, you can rise to the top.
Absolutely.
You really
and
can.
it's interesting that he wrote this article on the 17th of June, and on the 18th of June, yesterday, he actually scored 2 goals in the Belgium World Cup meet.
30 minutes is all it takes, so use the hashtag 30minutes on social media to catch our attention. Join the most interactive social media TV show weekdays at 5 p.m. only on Citi TV.
Okay, welcome back to Breakfast Daily. Now, earlier on, we're talking about the issue or reports in the news that Kandahar boys sacked the CEO or chased away the CEO of Tamale Teaching Hospital, which is very, very distasteful. And I'm still hoping to hear a report from the police that X and Y have been arrested in respect of that dastardly act, considering the fact that there are indeed videos circulating on social media. In the meantime, we are still joined by Erika Mwakuchum and lawyer George Lowe. Yes. We'll take our next story.
Yes, so the next story is on Citi Newsroom, and it says, I wasn't responsible for the daily operations of Capital Bank. That's Dr. Mensa Otabil, and I'm just going to read a brief excerpt of his press release. He says, my position was a non-executive role. I was therefore not involved in the day-to-day management of and operations of the bank. In the course of time, some decisions were made. Some decisions made turned out well, while some did not turn out as well as had been anticipated. As far as I can tell, everything was done with the best intention and interest of various stakeholders in mind. So let's get your initial reaction to his press release.
First, if I were Pastor Mensa Otabil, I would have stuck to my earlier position to be silent. Now I think that he's opened a Pandora box, and it hasn't helped him. It will not help him. Why am I saying that? Please, corporate governance is corporate governance. This thing that he's saying, he should better not say them. Executive director, non-executive director, alternate director, substantive director, substitute director, they all have the same responsibilities to the company they preside over. It doesn't lie in any director's mouth, whether executive or non-executive, to say that I was on the board, but then these things were not my act. No, that is why they call it corporate. To make it worse, he was chairman of the board. Clearly, if this thing we are reading came from Reverend Mensa Otabil, he simply did not understand the role of a board chairman. Maybe he was misled. Because clearly, you are a lawyer. I mean, you've done company law. And indeed, that is the reason why the new company act that we were drafting before I left Parliament. We were even saying that because of the nature of that, board secretaries and company secretaries now should be either accountants or lawyers. Because we clearly realized that, you see, we had a situation where we are asking directors to hold directorship. And then my director, because they said two, is myself and my wife. My wife may be a stark illiterate. She doesn't know anything. So when they say directors of a company, even though it's a limited liability company, I am in charge. And she will be responsible should anything go wrong. So, and it goes for many other things. Friends and family boards. That's what we have in this country. That's why our companies are collapsing. On boards, you should have professionals who understand certain things. And if you're a bank and you're doing certain businesses, if you want to go into agri financing, you should have an agriculturist on your board who understand, maybe a Greek economist who understand these things. You must choose your board members carefully. But once you accept, I were on a couple of boards. I went to 2 board meetings. I was on a board of microfinance. I went to 2 board meetings. The chief executive reported on. The 3rd meeting, I turned in my resignation. Because I realized that we were going in a direction that I didn't agree with. And so that is what you should be doing. So whoever wrote the thing for him, or whoever, if he wrote it himself or whatever, they should go back to the drawing board. It is a no. He cannot, under any circumstance, exclude himself from this thing. Indeed, if you follow this capital bank thing, he was not only a director, he was a shareholder. So he was a director shareholder. So it is not my act thing. It's not true. There is a report circulating that had fingered him as one of those who also had, took facilities to other things. If it indeed is true, what is he talking about? You see, when you talk, there's some group of people sit somewhere and say, touch not my anointed. Me too, I'm anointed though. I don't know about you. Are you not anointed?
I'm anointed, sir.
So please, let's deal with the issues as they appear. And stop these winding things. You see, I don't want to go after him this morning. But you see, it saddens me that the man of his caliber, if he wants to answer the questions that confront these financial dealings that has led to this is not the way to go. Playing on the minds of Ghanaians. This is clearly playing on the minds of Ghanaians. Maybe because he believes that we are as gullible as he himself said. He said Christians are the most gullible people. Those are his words. So maybe he thinks that by this statement, everybody will follow, okay, so he didn't do anything. I think he's culpable 1, culpable 2, culpable 3, culpable 10. Look, I'll just end it here. Reverend Mensah Otabil should not deceive himself by thinking that this statement will appease Ghanaians. He has been silent for a year. He should have just continued being silent. All these, I'm worried about those who have caused job losses and things like that. He should go and feed them. He should take the tithe and go and give to them. Please, let's live responsibly in this country. And you see, what is interesting is that these are the people who preach about incompetence. These are the people who preach about what others should do. These are the people who give us the impression that they cannot go wrong. I hope it's a lesson for all people in that league that we are all anointed of God. We are all human beings. Let's stay in our lane. If Reverend Mensah Otabil had stayed in his lane as a Christian looking for souls from God,
thank you
I'm
very
sure,
much.
I'm sure he wouldn't have gotten himself into this problem.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I'll invite him. He gave a certain sermon. I was reading it this morning about the power crisis. That it was the power crisis was not solved because it was a lack of wisdom. I invite him to go back to that sermon himself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much,
your thoughts on it.
George Lowe, Eric Omakuchum.
Well, I think that every Ghanaian would be worried about the issues coming up in the financial sector. And this is one of the fallouts of that. But I'm going to take a totally different view of this.
Oh, sure.
And that is because I think that we also have to respect the processes. And that the man himself has said that he has actually submitted himself to the processes. And making clear pronouncements really for me would be unfair. And that means that he also has a right as a citizen like everybody else. I'm also worried about the fact that my tax cedi has been used in a manner that probably could have been used another way. So I think every Ghanaian would be interested to make sure that, one, if there are certain individuals who have done certain things or through acts of omissions and commissions that should be held responsible, so be it. Also, but you don't also use the media or social media to basically judge people and do all of those things. So I will reserve comment on the actual statement itself. But I think that it goes on to also talk about the issues of responsibilities of directors and all of this, and that even if you are minded by your responsibility and what you're supposed to do, and if there's an attempt to actually do that through Parliament, let's do that. Let's bring some kind of clarity in terms of what the responsibilities and the roles are and all of this. I mean, we've had examples even in governments where you have some kind of schisms between the CEOs and board chairmen and what their roles are and all of those things. And I am particularly interested in a way that can actually be forestalled. So, of course, I mean, people are passionate about this, but we have to be careful in this country where everybody becomes guilty and they have to prove themselves innocent. It happens so much. Especially when
have said that.
I'm not saying that you've said that. I'm saying that we have to be very careful. But you can't say that you have a right to probably even question his integrity or the right to pronounce the fact that he has done something wrong, and he doesn't have a right to come out and, for instance...
No, I think his focus was on the letter. It's seeming to a form of absolution that I did not play an executive role. So he finds that statements are necessary if you understand the processes of law.
I'm not a spokesperson for Dr. Mensah Otabil. I mean, on the professional side, I would have sent him an invoice to advise him what to have done, but I'm not doing that. What I'm saying is that the issues are actually out there in the public domain. People can comment. But we have to be very wary in terms of how we proceed, because you can sort of... and there's no way me and him sitting here would even have all the facts. Of course, there's some kind of report coming from the Bank of Ghana, but I'm sure there's other things in terms of processes or the internal happenings in the various banks that we probably will not be aware of. So, for instance, if he's been called to go to Yoko and it's been investigated and all of those things, I would expect that we exercise a bit of restraint and allow the processes to...
That is why.
But what are your thoughts on our corporate governance in general? Because even when you're applying for a job in university, you will find people referencing their pastors on their cover letters, right? So, at what point do we focus on just merit and not all the other
we have challenges in this country. I don't know if it's a subculture, and it's something that probably needs a lot of work, you know. So this whole idea of family and friends and some kind of nepotic, there's even somebody who has done work on one-man businesses, for instance, where once the sponsor of that particular business passes away or is not interested anymore, that business is collapsed. Right? It's just by virtue of the fact that we are not a group of people who are interested in making sure that we bring people who have different sets of skills or expertise on board. Or I think there was one of the guys who you were talking to earlier was talking about equity and value and all of that. We don't know how to do that very well. But it's probably work in progress. And in terms of corporate governance, one, you have to also be minded by your own shortfalls. I always say that the best leaders in the world are the ones who, or the smartest people in the world are the ones who have an appreciation of what they cannot do. You know, so you're able to employ or engage people who are better in those set of skills to be able to show you up. I mean, you can't be a repository of all the knowledge in the world, and it cuts across almost all facets of our society. So coming from government, I've seen certain things where I feel that we can still do better, even in terms of corporate governance. Some of the things are basic stuff. So sometimes you go into an organization and they say, oh, it's because we are not paid well enough or we don't have the resources. But then you ask yourself, probably 50% of the issues boils down to a proper structure, a proper governance
Aren't you wrap up so we go on to the next
structure,
story?
which would probably forestall some of the problems that we are facing.
Okay, now let's jump straight to our last story for today. President inaugurates first company under 1D, 1F. Banks pledge $2.5 billion, $700 million. So the 2.5 billion is actually in Ghana cedis. Now let's take a look at the story. It goes on to read that the One District, One Factory initiative has received massive financial support from both local and international financial institutions. And according to this report here, reading from page 46 of the Daily Graphic this morning, a number of local banks have pledged 2.5 billion cedis, while some international banks in the United States, the United Kingdom, and China have pledged more than $700 million towards the successful implementation of the initiative. Now, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo made this known when he inaugurated the Springs and Boats Company Limited at Asokwa in Kumasi. So apparently this company belongs to a farmer, and the factory will be manufacturing springs and boats and amongst other things. I'll start with you on the inauguration of the first company under 1D, 1F as reported in the Daily Graphic on George Law.
Well,
I don't think that is. I think that the reportage is wrong.
Okay.
But we'll start with.
But anyway, it's on the first.
Let's start with him.
Okay,
No,
Eric.
but you can.
Eric.
Okay, Eric starts. Let us start.
Well, there are other factories that have been commissioned. Okay,
And
Eric.
it's somewhere he is close to where the sector in which he used to work. So possibly he has.
Yeah. So I think this is a welcoming news. Again, that shows government's commitment to making sure that this policy of one district, one factory is realized. It's still a work in progress, but again, the commitment and exactly what the president said in terms of the funding support, it's there. As this I know because I'm in that sector, and in the next few months, a lot of these companies will come up. I'm going to borrow the famous phrase from the NDC at various stages of completion, and that is actually the truth. So it's, for me, the whole idea of the One District, One Factory is to also to allow a special distribution of our industries, and then also to make sure that we are adding value to the raw produce that we have in this country. I'm not an economist. I don't want to pretend to be one, but I know for a fact that regardless of what we do, if we're not able to sell, just be very simplistic, trade beyond the borders of this country, we're a country of 30 million people, it's almost impossible to transform the nation like the way we want us to because we are very small. So you can't even have big enough industries or companies to be able to take care of the population. If you're looking for investment, for instance, the first thing that they'll ask, where is the market, right? So you have to be able to position yourself in a way that you'll be able to, one, create Pan-African brands, global brands that are useful across the country and then beyond. So that is a step in the right direction. There's a lot of work to be done. And when you do One District, One Factory, a lot of people focus too much on the factory building sitting there. But there's a whole value chain. And the value chain starts from what they call from farm to fork, where you have the tilling of the land, the planting of the produce itself, it's to the stage of storage, marketing, processing. And along all that value chain, it creates employment, it creates jobs, it creates value, right? So for me, that is where I'm looking at it from that perspective. If you put that to all the infrastructure that is in the offing, which is the Sino-Hydro policy investment that is coming through in terms of the roads, in terms of what's going to happen in the railway sector, for instance, then you're opening up this country. You're opening up this country for the development that we want. And that should be devoid of partisanship of politics, because when, for instance, MPP is in power, Ghanaians will enjoy the same. So we need to have a certain clear indication of where we want to go as a people. I mean, I'm not one of those people who would sit on a platform and say everything that the previous NDC governments have done is wrong. But I feel strongly that the reason why sometimes we are where we are is because there's too much disparities in terms of orientation, like exactly what we want. So if it's industries that we want, there has to be clear benchmarks as to how we're able to do so. If it's education, we have to have clear benchmarks. If it's health, clear benchmarks. I also think that we are too preoccupied with a certain comparison. We can have authentic African or Ghanaian solutions to our problems, right? So we have issues with housing, for instance. Now, but we have local, materials that can build houses. I don't see this fascination with brick and, cement blocks and plastering and all of those things. When even the most developed countries in the world, they're still using bricks. You understand what I'm saying? So, and we have that in abundance. So that is where, for me, I have a challenge that whilst we want to develop, there has to be some kind of concerted effort from both sides, or even from different angles, that this is exactly where we want to go. And then the experiences that they have, the experiences that we have, will be brought to bear to make sure that this country moves forward.
Thank you.
So for one district, one factory, the way we are going about it and how we want to do it, for me, is the best way to go. So that we have a spatial distribution of these industries across the country, and make sure that the produce that is coming from these areas, I mean, there's a comparative. So when you go to, say, somewhere in the central region, there's pineapple. When you go towards the eastern region, there's cassava. When you go somewhere, there's cocoa. When you go, there's coconuts. There's all sorts of other things. In the urban centers, what do you have? So we go to Kumasi, for instance. There's a huge subsector when it comes to this magazine and repairing of vehicles. So that's a very great avenue for you to have a bolts and nuts and whatever factory. When it comes to Accra, for instance, what are we doing with all the waste that we generate? Then we are probably moving forward as a people.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Well, interesting listening to my brother, and I always get a feeling that patriotism and unity of purpose only starts when MPP is in power. Because when they are not in power, everything is wrong.
That is not true. That is not true.
But when they are in power, there's always the call, you see, that's devoid of politics, devoid of all the nice English that they bring on board. Well, they are welcome. One district, one factory, bolts and springs, whatever. Policy-wise, well, it may fit in this whole concept of building factories. But I'm sure that if you did a real assessment of the factory, this is a private sector initiative that government has jumped on and created the impression that they have.
No, but
please,
I mean,
please.
But I can support you.
Please.
So it's not just government jumping on. There are certain benefits that
Please.
were
Oh, wait.
Let him finish. Maybe you get a chance to prepare.
No, government.
But it's misinformation.
No, if he finishes early, then you come in with the correct information. Just make a note of it.
That's all. Talking about one district, one factory. I was always thinking that it should be a policy that is government directed. I haven't said that you cannot partner with private sector. I'm saying it should be government directed. And he made one fantastic situation: housing, porcelain cement. CSIR, a government agency, is already doing it. Why wouldn't government jump on that, build up the infrastructure so that we know we are getting porcelain cement, and we know that once we start, 30% reduction in housing deficit. Because
but still,
wait. I'm saying I'll come there. I know what exactly. You see, I'm dissecting the policy.
Okay.
The policy again was directed as earning foreign exchange for this country plus jobs. In it.
Yeah.
Now already we are starting from a certain premise where raw materials are going to come from outside. Do you know what that means? It means we are spending more money bringing.
That can be contested.
You understand? And then we are giving tax holidays. We are giving all that. Somebody will say that will be government contribution to making the factory start for the next 5 years. But I am saying that we should have started from places where we are strong. Okay? Where the local materials are here.
Okay.
where our raw material base is well known and well resourced. Then when we have reached somewhere, we can now be going into these things that we would need the raw material from outside. So for me, there's a policy disjoint. I still insist that with the one district, one factory, the one district, one factory doesn't sound too good. I don't mind. It could have been one region, one factory. I don't mind. But I'm saying that the policy rollout and the policy appreciation is not here. And it has happened to all the policies that the government has brought in. So clearly, what is happening is not that the government has sat down and has a policy direction that possibly we are doing agriculture and agri value chain. And so you concentrate on there for a while. As for the rest of the things they are talking about, I think that we are not learning lessons here. Now, since last week, everything we talk about is about the 2 billion Chinese loan coming in. We don't even know whether the thing will come or not come. And yet that has become the bedrock of all development from now to 2020. I think that we should be very careful. We must be very, very careful. You remember these same Chinese people, you remember the Twum gas pipe? Eventually, we forced, and at the point, Parliament decided that let's cut the thing into half, and we took only 1.5 billion. Because they will keep changing the goalposts. To even make it worse, you are pretending, something that they are pretending is a butter. You will see how it will roll out. I don't wish ill for that. But you see, when you have been there before, and you know how the terrain is, you'd better be careful. You again are raising people's hopes. Very soon, bad roads will be a thing of the past. Vice President is already promising 10,000 housing units. When 320 crowd that they've cut their sword, we haven't reached anywhere.
Yeah, but you
I think
STS and not
yes, I'm saying that we go to STS.
Yeah,
so why do you want us to go back to STS?
But we are not going back to STS.
This is a time where we should tread cautiously. And I'm saying that, but for me, the most important thing is that the policy must be government-led, so the government knows exactly where they are going. This thing where they are jumping here and there, and I get scared when you see a minister go somewhere and say, oh, in this area, I remember one minister went to the central region and said, in addition, Kranyamansa area, we can have a Fanti Kenke factory, and it's one district, one factory. Somebody says ice block factory in Teshi, please, that is not what should be envisaged in this country. We need, when we are talking about factories, we need proper factories where we can feed the African sub-region and possibly feed the other parts of the world. The value chain is there. Soya bean is a big issue in China now. They can't meet demand. And we are expecting that government may be working hard in that area so that we know that we have a ready market here, a ready market there. I don't see that happening. So I think that the government is advised to tread cautiously and be policy focused. It has happened with free SHS. One DF, one F is happening. Other things, the policy disjoint is becoming too much. Okay. And we must be very careful. I mean, like he says, I always say that if there's an asphalted road from Asikuma to Pandai or to Ho, when I land my car on it, it won't ask me, hey, Master, are you NDC or MPP? For me, it's a smooth road that I'll go on and I'll be happy. Any government that is coming with development, I'm all for it. But let's do the right thing. Let's use the proper processes. Let's understand where we are going. Let's not be putting and jumping in all directions just because we've made a political promise. I have given free consultancy all the time, and now they are not paying, so I've withheld my consultancy. Because I said that many of the problems MPP has today, if they will listen, they will not be there. They would have been a government that would be applauded highly for some of these things that they brought. But clearly, they are either too much in a hurry to please, or that because most of the policies are not well thought through, they don't want to take a step back and redirect. Okay. We need this country to move forward.
Thank you.
Okay, finally, Eric.
Final comments.
Well, I think that, of course, we are not impervious to suggestions coming, especially when it comes to one district, one factory. We will take it on board. But I know for a fact that
really briefly, Eric,
a lot of things are happening in that space. And let's keep watching for that space.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we're indeed joined by Eric Khae. He's a senior communications member with the NPP communications team. And not forgetting lawyer George Lowe, the former member of parliament for North Diane, is currently vying for the seat of regional secretary for the Volta region for the NDC. We wish you all the best, George.
Yes, and up next, we're going to learn about Ghana society and digitization. So you don't want to miss this. We're going to talk to some really impressive people, one of whom is actually my brother, William Senyo, who is the CEO of Impact Tabakar. So you don't want to miss that conversation. Stay tuned. This is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV.
Spend 30 minutes every weekday catching up with all the trending social media conversations of the day. If you tweet it, we'll read it. We might just even Skype you. 30 minutes is all it takes, so use the hashtag 30minutes on social media to catch our attention. Join the most interactive social media TV show weekdays at 5 p.m. only on Citi TV.
Wherever the weekend sporting action happened, we will bring it to you here on Scorecard. Every goal, every dunk, every punch, the winning strides, and the winning volleys.
Come international media, he said, look, wait, sit and wait. Let me have a meal with my people. And I think that's the same cool, it's the same organization he brings to the field every time I've seen him play. He looks to me like somebody who has played over 50 caps already. Okay. But this guy has barely played over 25 caps for the national team.
All of the weekend's action in one place. Scorecard, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. prompt on Citi TV.
It's engaging, detailed, and loaded with factual and incisive analysis. It's The Big Issue, your preferred Saturday morning news and current affairs analysis program on Citi TV. Tune in this and every Saturday at 9 a.m. and hear the newsmakers discuss the top issues for the week.
At that time, Charlotte was complete. I'm not defending Charlotte. I'm talking about the way we behave like hypocrites and ostriches in this country. At that time, she was a perfect person.
It's The Big Issue with Stella Madonu on Citi TV. This and every Saturday at 9 a.m.
Live music, interviews, poetry, and more with your favorite personalities. Be our guest on Saturdays from 2 to 4 p.m. for the most exciting moments on TV. Join Kojo Akoto Boateng for real entertainment right in your living room. Saturday Live on Citi TV and Citi 97.3 FM.
Good evening, this is The Point of View. We're live on Citi TV.
Tune in to The Point of View, Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. as Bernard Avlet takes the news further. He will bring the right guest, ask them the relevant questions, and get you the real insights you need on the big stories for the day.
We need taxes to run the economy. How do you do it sensibly and have the least pernicious effect in terms of cascading through the economy? And I think that is the thinking that is required. It's not a denial that we need taxes, and I think that is the difference in the two administrations.
The Point of View with Bernard Avlet, Monday and Wednesday nights, only on Citi TV. For regular news checks as they unfold, 2020 news, all day, all the time. Politics, sports, entertainment, business, and more. 2020 News. We bring you the world in 20 minutes.
And that's all the news in 20 minutes.
Jealousy go shame against the bad boy. Jealousy go shame. Whoa. What's up, guys? Your boy Citi, and right now you are watching Breakfast Daily. Oh, Lord of mercy. Let's go.
Straight. Yeah. Yeah. But we just, they say it be some one-time hit. Man, you no go fit, say you no go fit. I dey try them times so then tell me say I no go blow. I dey beg, what be this? We just slow me a fast to the swift. Give am check, give am glass, make it sip. Make them know say me pay one, I say me pump, I go carry my own shit. Educate this, educate that. Educate go flop, oh, educate what? Educate no go fit to make am. Be like you dey come play, we are drum this, I got me a smart. You no be here, you no be now. We be pro man, I level no be now. Hey, I get the master key, you know if you enter me. I be virgin, I be none. Me and me a plus, but I still make the difference. If you carry it, I swear like a give for the invest, give me small time, we go reap one and you, cause I do it for the man them. And I do it for the girls with the no. Educate be the anthem. We just be the ideal one, say no, man. I do it for the man them, and I do it for the girls with that no say educate be the ideal one, cause I do it for the, man. I do it for the Joa, for the, man. I do it for the man them, got them right there. Educate be the anthem, shut them up. Me and me pass and me dance me see any work party be a be the feet and man I do it for the ideal ones with them my back where you dey make I see the hands up and I do it for the girls where them go the club and they see them my body that viewers your life like a kitty roro you dey come play pilolo if you not see your mind all day I dey beg make you go back where you know no. I'm the truth, make you never try dare me. Method is Sanji me and make up Presby. If you see me a problem, if I be problem, please solve me. Cause I do it for the. Man, I do it for the Joa, for the. Cause I do it for the man them. And I do it for the girls with the no. Educate be the anthem. We just be the ideal one. Say you know, man, I do it for the man them. And I do it for the girls with the no say educate be the ideal one. Cause I do it for the. Man, I do it for the Joa, for the. Cause I do it for the, and I do it for the girls with the no say educate be the ideal one. Yeah. Straight, yeah.
So that was Eddie Khae, and we're going to hear more about him. Now, before the break, I told you that we're going to discuss Ghana society and digitization, not digitalization. I'm joined by William Senyo, who is the CEO of Impact Hub Accra. Impact Hub Accra is a very big tech hub for all entrepreneurs, not just for people focusing in technology, but even agriculture, manufacturing. It's a co-working space and just a safe community for startups. And also Geraldine De Bastion, who's head of programs for Republica Accra. And I'm going to tell you a bit about Republica Accra before we start our conversation with the two of them. Now let me just introduce them, and then I'll tell you a bit about it. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, thank
That's
you.
Good.
Well, how are you doing?
It's great to see you thrive on a set like this.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
It's your first time with us, isn't it?
It's my first time on the show. Thank
Tell
you very
us a
much
bit
for
about
having me.
Republica.
Republica is a big
festival that we have in Berlin. It's been going for 13 years now, so it's matured from what used to be a small meetup of bloggers and people really sort of shaping the tech scene to a really big festival talking about all kinds of ways that digitization is changing society, politics, media, arts, culture. And yeah, it's a big celebration of what is possible and also a critical reflection about how we want to shape this digital society we're living in.
Okay, now William, tell us a bit about Ghanaian society and why digitization is important for our development.
Yeah, the reason we thought Republica should come into Africa is exactly because we are at a point in African society generally where tech is shaping large swaths of our population. There are opportunities mostly for young people to build new things outside of the realm of possibility that we've always known. And Republica has been bringing 10,000 people to Berlin every year. Wow. To talk about the nexus of society and tech and how it's shaping everything. And we thought, what best way in 2018, given just the spring in the step of the young African, to bring something like this and not just bring Republica to Africa, but sprinkle African magic over Republic and give it a new taste in a way that celebrates all that is good of Ghanaian people, mostly young people. You've been part of our community. You've crossed over, still part of us. But the point is, if you look at in my adult life, the kinds of things that have rapidly changed. I'm 31. Between when I became conscious, maybe 16 years ago, and what we've seen in that period, there's significant progress that we've not celebrated enough of. We get drowned in the noise of politics and all of these things, and we forget the amazing progress we are making as a generation. And we think there are moments in our lifetime that we should pause and celebrate that all that is great about young people. And Republica in December is trying to do some of that.
So before we get into Republica in December, I want you to tell our viewers, the few people in Ghana who might not know of Impact Hub Accra, what was the scene like when you guys first started, and what is it like now as far as making sure that the Ghanaians take advantage of this opportunity?
Yeah, I live in a bit of a bubble. You know this. Yes. I'm happy to be part of a constituency of young Ghanaians who refuse to be faced by the reality of the mainstream noise and all the craziness that is our lives today. And Impact Hub is a representation of that unique peripheral community of Ghanaians who just focus on transcending this reality and creating new things. 5 years ago when we started the Impact Hub, it was mostly a place to convene very energetic young people in one location. That was all it was about. It was a naive young group of people who thought, hey, what if we had 30 people like us hanging out with us every day and doing some cool stuff? Fast forward 5 years on, it's definitely way past that. It's now a community of over 250 people working in about 1,400 square meters of space with high-speed broadband internet provided by Google, spaces that speak to the ideal things that we want to see in the new Ghana. The new vision as it stands now is to build the Accra Innovation Enclave. So we are clustering about 10,000 square meters of space in the Osu-Akwaje area. We've done all the work of digging about 1 square kilometer area and laying fiber optic cable. We're building a mini grid and just creating spaces that can let your soul rest and not worry about the chaos of this city and create some amazing things. In the process, we want to convene about 1,000 young people in these spaces, living and working in one, unique neighborhood that if someone were to come to Accra and were to ask you, where is Accra's brightest and best, it should be without a doubt. Go to Akwaje Park and go hang out. So that's what we are trying to create right now.
And I must say, Impact Hub is definitely one of my best spots. I mean, I don't know if most of you know this, but when I first came to Ghana, I came to Ghana in 2014 actually, October 2014.
With all the
There
promise.
was crazy, the economy was a mess, there was an energy crisis, right? It's difficult to get internet, and I knew that the one place that you can at least find some peace of mind to work and just, share ideas with young people in Ghana was Impact Hub Accra. So I'm very honored to have you here. Now, what are the opportunities for young creatives in this Republica event that's happening in December. Tell us a bit about just December in general, what we have to expect and how we can even apply.
So I think one of the most important things to note is that the Republica program is an open participatory process. Nice. We just launched our call for participation on Friday. Wow. So anybody who's interested in giving a talk, hosting a panel, giving a workshop, or even having an exhibition there, any kind of artistic performance, is open to hand in ideas. So we're really looking for everybody to shape this event and make it their own. It's going to be a 2-day event, and we're going to have space on different kind of stages, but we also want to create space for young companies to showcase innovations that are for the better of society. So we don't have pitches on stage. It's really important things to us that the talks that we have are sort of more critical, more reflective, more really looking on developments in society at large. But we do want to give space for those young innovators who are, for instance, working at Impact Hub, who want to showcase their ideas and say, this is a product I created in Ghana or in other African countries, and I want to showcase it here to show this is the way I want to help impact and change society.
Is there a link we can go to
Yes, we've got a website, which is accra.republica.com.
Okay.
And maybe we can also, I don't know if you have a place on your show's website where we can share the link, that would be great.
Definitely.
And otherwise, if you Google Accra and Republica, you should find the website, and the call for participation is there. It's pretty easy. You have to create a little profile for yourself as a speaker and then hand in your idea. And Will and I and our teams are also there to answer questions if people need help.
Now, I understand this is your first time in Africa. Is it?
This is the first time Republica is being hosted in Africa. Yeah.
Okay. Why Ghana and why Impact Hub?
So, a really good question. The whole idea of having a Republica event hosted in either East or West Africa has been floating around for quite some time. So I've been working together with different tech hubs across Africa very intensely since 2012, 2013, and I had the wish to make Republica in Berlin a more international conference, really show that innovation doesn't have to come from the US or from Europe, but really to give more space for voices from all over the world. So luckily we've had a lot of people traveling from across Africa. I'd say about 30 to 50 speakers from Africa involved in speaking on the Republica stages each year. So there's been like a community growing and an interest growing. And we've been talking to Will, and we've been talking to other people here for some time, and really found that our ideas matched and are really aligned in what we want to do and why we want to host this event. And so we found now is kind of the perfect opportunity to do this together with Impact Hub in Ghana. I think my experience here has been that this is a really vibrant place and a place that really understands community and how different kind of communities work and collaborate. And that's really important because Republica, it's not a big corporate event and it's not a big state-driven event. It's a community event. So that's the kind of magic we need to make it work.
Okay, now William, as a product of Impact Hub, I mean, I've seen companies from education to the agri sector to manufacturing, all spewing up from Impact Hub Accra. How important is digitization in our national development and even beyond Ghana, the continent?
So generally, the biggest ROI on digitization mostly is efficiency. And if there's a place on earth that needs a lot more efficiency, it's our part of town. Accra definitely needs to be more efficient. Ghana definitely needs more efficient. So anything that we are adding tech to is supposed to help us be more efficient. Now, the problem, though, is that we live in societies where the base, the fundamentals, is not always that strong. So if you slap tech on it, it just exacerbates the challenges. So some of the biggest questions and the pushbacks we are trying to have during Republica is, are we trying to just build band-aid solutions that mask the bigger national problems we have? Or is tech actually going systemic and finding a way to actually fix problems? And if that's even possible, are we deluding ourselves that by slapping some code on something, somehow our problems go away? And these are the questions, I think, in reflection after a decade of pushing boundaries on tech over the last few years. I think it's time for us to pause and say, does this platform actually solve the problem that GRA is not able to collect all its tax, or the fact that people just are not willing to do it? If you give them tech, they still won't do it. So how do we balance tech and the reality of our society and find a way to reach an introspection that is it's constructive. It's what we are hoping that an event like this does. But yeah, frankly, I've seen tech improve so much, but I'm also slightly cautious to make it the solution to all our problems.
Okay, so what sectors are you looking at for this event specifically?
So the overarching categories that we have are politics and society, arts and culture, media and journalism, and business and innovation. But beyond that, we're really looking, as we said, for people to hand in their own ideas. We generally like to talk at Republica about internet freedom issues, about freedom of speech, about infrastructure issues, about how to really create the net, the web that we want. But we also like to talk about sort of future issues. What do we want the future of mobility to look like, the future of our cities, the future of energy solutions? So those are some of the topics that have been popular in the last couple of years in Berlin, and I think would also be good to address here. But really, we're very much open for ideas of everybody coming in.
Yeah. And we have the proud support of the city of Accra. So this is going to be a truly local event with all the stakeholders. We are working with governments. You know how I feel about them, but we're excited to, for once, cross the bridge and meet halfway and have constructive conversations.
So my next question to you, and we're going to watch a brief video of exactly what Republica is. And then, William, I want you to touch a bit on what the government, the role of the government in all of this, because before the two of you came, we were discussing 1D1, One District, One Factory with a member of NDC and MPP, right? So what role...
By the way, I'm sitting on the MPP side, from what I see.
So let's watch that video quickly.
The energy here is absolutely spectacular. It is a total delight to be here with you today.
It's not just Ghana.
It's
Wow.
Minimum of over 200 guests.
So we're actually on right now. We were talking about just how big this is. Wow. Okay. I don't think our conversation did this any justice. Yes, it did. And I'm glad we showed the video.
I hope what transports through the video is the kind of different scale in which things happen. So we have a huge main stage that seats about 2,000 people, and we had, for instance, was shown Chelsea Manning speaking there, U.S. whistleblower that was pardoned by Obama right at the end of his term. But we also have like really small hands-on workshops. So I don't know if you saw, but there was one workshop being done with a science kit produced by a Ghanaian company called Dext.
Wow.
They produced their kits in Kumasi, in the Kumasi Makerspace, the Kumasi Hive. and they're targeted at school children that only learn from textbooks because they have no practical equipment in their classes. But because it was such an inspiring way that they put this kit together and they put their business together, we decided this also be perfect to have workshops with at Republica. So from your small sort of 20 people hands-on workshop to the 2,000 people sat on the main stage and everything in between.
Wow. And I mean, I saw Kelechi there.
Of course, it won't be a party without
Kelechi. But William, tell us, how big of an opportunity is this for local entrepreneurs, just creatives in general? How big of a deal is this for young Ghanaians? And is it just for Ghanaians? Can people in Togo, Benin, Nigeria, can they all just come over and let's have a big
Wakanda party? This
nice.
It's not. We happen to be one of the most stable countries and amazing people. That's why it's happening here. But it's generally for the rest of the continent. It's a huge Pan-African event. We will try and bring Ghana center stage as best as we can, rooting for the motherland. But it's for the rest of the continent. But one of the big components of all of this is we want to connect communities that are not connecting well.
Wow.
So the social impact community is doing amazing work. Then the creatives are on the map everywhere. If you talk about, artists like Ibrahim Mahama, Afro Galoze, all these guys that are doing amazing work. And then the tech community. Yet they've built over the last decade. It's now time to bring it all home, merge it. So this platform will be that nexus where all the brightest and best are convening and having great conversations.
Wow.
So it's the rest of the continent. It's different sectors coming together and saying, we are here. We are who we've been waiting for. So let's just have a good time.
What about sponsors? Because I saw in the video you had, sponsors from Berlin. If there's a local entrepreneur watching this, a local businessman who has maybe some 8 billion cities to
come on over.
Can they sponsor the event?
We're absolutely looking for sponsors, especially locally, particular people who would like to support with infrastructure. We're hoping to choose a location where we get to leave something, not just sort of come in and come out, but really try to create something more lasting than the event. So if anybody's eager to help support us to do that, we're really, really open. At the moment, the main financial partner is the German Development Ministry, but we're definitely looking to bring in a diversity of different kind of partners.
Okay, and I know you mentioned this already, but let's just say it again. Where are the sectors you're considering? Agriculture, journalists?
So it's mostly broad themes, and then we have sub-curation. On the broad themes, we have media and journalism. So anything on the future of media and what is shaping it. So people like you, obviously.
I'll obviously be there.
All the bloggers, all the social media folks.
There's business and innovation, which encapsulates all the things we are about. Tech, social impact, all of that. Then there is
arts and culture.
Arts and culture, exactly.
Digital arts, different ways that different arts and cultures are changing through different kind of media like VR and AR, for instance. There's politics and society. All the people who are sort of critically looking at, again, internet freedom issues, our civil liberties in the digital space. The hackers out there who want to give cool talks about the things that they've managed to break in or leak, as well as people, advising government on how to digitize and how to be more effective and perform better for their citizens.
Yeah. So
what would you get? The people who would just come just to experience it. Yeah. What would we get out of the two? Because watching this video alone is like such an intellectual, challenge. Just seeing this ball of people from all parts of the world sharing their ideas, and then there's a party to it as well. So what can we expect in the 2 days that we'll be there?
It's aimed to celebrate what is best of us, right? It's aimed to inspire, kind of pump us up for 2019. That's the goal of it. Like, let's go into the next year with some real excitement. And the final component is challenge your thought and also engage. So just come with your best self to engage with people from all over the world.
I think a good day at Republica would be to listen to 2-3 really inspiring talks, maybe a couple of things that you've never heard about before, or really sort of open your mind, participate in 1 or 2 hands-on workshops, solder something, build something, create something with a new method that you've learned, have a couple of really good conversations, meet some new people, and then join us for a party at night.
Wow. Now, my last question is, if anybody's watching and they're a student and they want to start spreading the word, forward? Can they volunteer to just, maybe if I'm in Bolga and I want to, you know, get my mini Republicas to Accra, is that allowed? And do we apply for it, or you just go for it?
Yes, so you can again go on the website and create a profile, and then say that you're a community leader trying to bring certain people in, and we'll be reaching out to all these people. As much as possible, we don't want to make it an Accra event. There's too much happening here already.
Exactly.
As much as possible, we'd like to make it a truly inclusive event. So anyone you are open to supporting in any way, you want to be part of the excitement, just reach out and we'll be happy to follow.
Okay, share the website with us again.
It's accra.republica.com.
Okay.
And be happy if it's possible to put the link somewhere also on the
And we can
Breakfast
follow
Daily
the
website.
Impact Hub. You can also follow Impact Hub across social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We'll be sharing as much as possible.
And we get updates as we go.
There's also a Facebook page for Republica Accra, and
Awesome. So
make it easy to find us.
Yes. Now, before we watch the video, I asked you the role of the public sector in all of this. So can you touch on it? Because we hear bits and pieces of, we're trying to do this, we're trying to do that. We know there are problems, but then there's also like a lot of young people in this country who have the potential to solve these problems, but somehow there's no connection.
So my take on that most of the time is that governments sometimes try to do too much with the resources that they have, and they stretch the dollar, when all they should be doing is creating space for others who have the capacity to actually have depth and do it right to do it. So these conversations, part of what we are trying to do is also to show the spectrum of things that exist in this country that politicians have no idea of. Like we've been around for 5 years, and then highest political office holder to ever, Ghanaian office holder to ever walk into our space is a minister of state. And that happened 5 years in. Why is that? We are
and by the way, the president of France visited Impact Hub Accra. Let's just put that out there.
So there's a dissonance in terms of what politicians know exists and what they can tap into to actually solve the problems, and young people having access to that. And we think over time that connection needs to be built so they can know the spectrum of opportunity there is to solve some of these problems. I don't blame political office holders. The pool they come from has a certain thought process. So sometimes it's very difficult to understand some of these things. But if they are open-minded and engaged, I think so many young people are willing to actually get behind and help build a better country, I guess.
Thank you. And you, tell us about some collaborations that have come out of this two-day event that you did that even surprised you.
Oh, well, in Republica Berlin, we have 3 days. We thought we'd start with 2 days here to have a bit of space to sort of expand and move up. I think, collaborations at Republica, this is one of them, and it's a really good example of it. We do have our government has been increasingly interested in participating at Republica. So in the beginning, there was very, very little government presence. But as the German government has also caught on to how important digitization is for them, to put it on the political agenda, and also to modernize their government, we've had more and more people sort of peeking through the door and saying, hey, can we be part of the show? Can we host a panel? Can we have a conversation with you, basically? And I think that's the nice thing about Republica, is that it creates space for those conversations, right? We're neutral, we're our own entity, we're not sort of owned by anybody, so we get to sort of create a level playing field, but we get to invite everybody in to say, hey, why not talk to each other? And why not talk to each other perhaps in a little bit of a different way than you would in your corporate boardroom or in your government ministry meeting room, just to sort of loosen up the borders that we have a little bit sometimes between the different working cultures that we've built up, and basically see how we can do a better job at collaborating in future. Because in the end, all the government folks, as well as the big corporates, they need people like you guys and people from your community to really get to the next level. But we also need their support, because all the innovation, all the change we're trying to create on a sort of micro level also needs to be leveraged up. So in the end, it's about trying to, make that happen.
Thank you. Now, William, summarize it all for anyone who just tuned in.
Yes, so in December 2018, Accra will come to a halt. We are literally getting the key to the city from the mayor, and we'll shut it down.
Wow.
Young people are going to take over this city and show what is possible. That's all December 2018 is about. We want to show the world what we've done and what we want to do. And we want everyone else to come join us to celebrate all that is best about Ghanaian young people and African young people.
Thank you both so much. And of course, you can get all the updates about Republica from the Impact Hub Accra social media pages, and of course the Republica Ghana social media platforms as well. Thank you, and I'm just gonna cross over to Wilberforce. Well, we have a performance before Wilberforce, so let's enjoy their performance.
Ground up, Charlie.
Straight. This one we do the dance, we go do the dance. Yeah. Right, niggas, the figures say they did them a pick. Yeah, but we just be there. Yeah, be like everybody they want take me photo. No biggie jigga for mellow. Do am fast, do am slow, If for guys say you only live once, YOLO. For the boys, for the girls, for the niggas in those days, for the man them, for the young girls, for the ones in love but they can't tell. Yeah, so put your hands in the air, like you really don't care. Hey, to the left, to the right, so you go there, every day. Do the dance, Everybody make us see you do the dance, do the dance, Everybody make us see you do the dance, do the dance. Everybody make us see you do the dance, do the dance. Everybody make us see you do the dance. Oh, skara, skereba, skereba. So Cararo, I promise I wanna. By the way, I just dey play. If you don't know them, my name be Eddie Khae. Give me space, I dey crazy. I don't want to see my body dirty rave. For the love, for the hate. Mama come and say to say Kazike. I'll get, I late. Baby, live in my star, my face. No be nice, go dey love. No be nice, go dey talk. No be here, when you go see your body say we but if it true, no be false. Maybe a profit to be lost. If or not, if for you are lava. Do that. Everybody, make us see you do the dance. Give me fans. I know they like a go, so they give me fans. Pick your plans. This year, everybody pick your plans. Take your time, Eddie, take your time. I'm not be here, so I know go feel relax. Do that. Everybody do that. Do that. Make us see it. Do that. Yeah, about the pressure. About the pressure. About the pressure more.
Yeah. Thank you so much. No, come. Sit down. Let me have the mic. Thank you very much. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
You know, honestly, I'll be very honest. When I saw you outside the studio, I'm thinking, who's this guy? You know, because we had a wonderful poet performance, and you know, he was good. He was solid. Crespo, solid, fantastic individual. So when I saw you, I'm like, okay, so is this Crespo's manager? Then I heard you perform the first song, and I'm like, well, this guy has quite he's quite talented. Then this song happens to be one of my, like the whole 2018, the entire year. This happens to be one of my favorites, and I was just confused because she looked very different from the video I saw. I've seen two videos. There's a street video and there's an official video. Yeah. So it was difficult to relate to see the wow. So this is Do the Dance. You did Do the Dance. Eddie Khae, Eddie Khae.
Yeah.
Super fantastic. Congratulations. That's a fantastic song. It's blown like throughout Ghana. I think I was in Tamale last weekend also. Jefa went to Akosombo, and I went to Tamale for like a quick project, and then even in Tamale, and she was also saying even in Akosombo, like the song was huge. Did you ever think the song would be this big?
Honestly speaking, I didn't expect this. I didn't see this coming because it was just by coincidence, if I should put it that way, because we're in the studio and I just decided to do this song. So
where which studio were you in at that point?
I was in XLC studio. Yeah, it's a friend studio. So I was there, then we just had the vibe and we decided to do the dance.
So wait, so you already had the song planned before you got into the studio? Is this something you had always wanted to do?
Yeah, I had the song planned. I wrote the song in my room actually.
You wrote the song in your room?
So then we went into this, but there are some things I didn't write. Like there are some lyrics in the song I didn't write them. I got the vibe from the studio.
So, yeah.
I'm just shocked. So then you're in the studio with who, and you know, how did those whole song come about?
A couple of friends, like the idea was actually from a friend of mine. He's in UCC. I saw him do the dance, like the dance I was doing. I saw him do it. It was very catchy, and then I decided to do a song for it. But the dance is actually from tech.
It's a dance that some people were doing in tech, and you decided to make a song out of it.
Yeah.
It's solid. It's solid. It's a good idea. So on this particular track, when you were in the studio, you all psyched up, and then you decided to do the dance.
Yeah.
You were solid at the point.
Yeah, we were very solid.
I said nothing had gone in the system.
Nothing had gone in the system.
And then you decided, let's just do the song.
Let's do this, yeah.
Okay, so how has this translated into your life? How has this song, you know, impacted into your life? I'm talking about especially financially. How has this helped you? And also professionally? Where do you see yourself going from this song?
Professionally, it's helped me. It's a stepping stone for me, actually, because I get feedbacks from other artists, and I've met a couple of people through this song, and it's really helped. It's pushed me. It's moved me to another level. So I feel like it's helped me professionally. Financially, it's a process.
It's a process.
I'll get there. Yeah.
But of course, you have the chance to perform on various shows. Are there a few shows you can mention?
Tidal Rave, I was there, and yesterday's roll call, I was there too, and VGMA Celebrity Bash, I was there too.
Wow.
Those are the recognized platforms.
Yes, but beyond that, you've also done that, and you collected a bit of money small for the system.
Here and there.
Eddie Khae, what's your full name?
Edwin Kwabnapra. I'm actually a twin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is your brother here?
My brother is not here.
Your brother is not here at the moment. Yeah. Wow, he looks just like you?
He doesn't look like he doesn't look like me.
Okay, you're not identical.
Yeah,
in
we
that
are
sense.
not identical, but if we are working together, you know, this part's twin. But we are not identical.
At least they're brothers.
Yes.
In a sense, he's a guy, I believe.
A guy, yeah.
Okay, so he was also in the video.
He was in the video.
Okay.
He was in the street video. Yeah, it wasn't in the official.
Okay, then maybe that's where I'm getting the bit of difference.
It wasn't even. It was just a flash.
The flash he came in the video, in the street video. Yeah. But I'm serious. This song is fantastic. It's everywhere. I mean, over the weekend as well. No, 2 weeks ago, I was emceeing a wedding, and then everyone was doing this dance. Old people, young people.
It's amazing.
It was just amazing. Jiva has a video. She's begged me not to release it on social media, but she was actually dancing to this particular song.
I love to see it.
You love to see the video. I'll show you the video after the show.
Sure.
Yeah, she was just doing the dance. I don't know how to dance, but I think this is quite simple. I should try and learn it. I mean, I should be able to do this one. Anyway, so now let's also get into your. I'm sorry. I'm just hearing right now that the producers want me to dance to this particular song, and I'm shaking my head. It's not going to happen. Not on this planet. not on this planet. No. So what's going to happen also is that so we will just let you for dance on that one, so you see what happened in the video as well, because she'll beg me not to show you the video. Now, let's go into your life. Okay, growing up, before all this started, because I'm telling you, this is going to lead to stardom, especially if you're focused and you want to do this like seriously. There are some people who get into music, they get a bit of fame, hype, and then maybe they might degenerate, start some vices that will just cripple their career. But you should stay focused. That's the little advice I can give you. If this is what you want to do, stay focused. If you want to use this as a means to a different end, maybe like education, business, whatever, that's also fine. Let no one judge you. But don't go down because of this. Okay, now moving on. How was growing up for you like? Life of Eddie Khae in 1 minute. Let's sum up your life in a minute.
Growing up wasn't hard, wasn't easy to, it wasn't, it was just, I'm from a home where my dad is a headmaster.
Wow.
Yeah, and my mom used to make hairs and stuff. But growing up it was fun, because I grew up with my older brother and a twin brother. And we weren't so broke, if I should put it that way. I'm from a well-endowed home.
Oh, wow.
Like, we don't have much, but we are okay.
Funny choice of words.
Yeah, we are okay. Like, we have food to eat, we do everything. So growing up was okay for me. My education background is very good. So basically, growing up was was okay for me. So I started music when I was in JHS.
Well, which school was that?
St. Teresa's.
Oh, wow.
St. Teresa's.
Kaneshi.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I graduated from St. Teresa's and I went to Oga School, St. Augustine's. Then from there, I'm in Central right now. But I started doing music full time.
You're in which year in Central?
My final year, 400. I'm studying management studies. Yeah. So growing up was kind of easy, not too cozy, but easy. Understand?
I mean, I really like the honesty. You're not going to say I hustled or anything.
I didn't really hustle.
Yeah.
I didn't really hustle, but there are some times when difficulties would come and stuff.
But still, Daddy was there.
Daddy was there. Mommy was there.
Mommy was there.
Yeah, my brothers too was there. Yeah.
Who was there?
My brothers.
Your brothers who were there. Your twin.
My twin and my older brother.
And how's it like growing up having a twin? Do you feel you used to wear the same clothes?
Yeah.
Is he also wearing the same T-shirt you have now with that cute flower inside?
No, we used to wear the same clothes. It was actually annoying for me because you go everywhere and people are pointing fingers. They are twins. And it was kind of weird for me.
And what you say in your head when people are pointing at you that they are twins? They are twins.
These people cry. What are they doing? Those kind of vibes. So it was normal growing up as a twin. I don't see how different it is from being.
And how does your brother feel about you and this particular song right now?
We actually started music together, but then along the line he decided to drop.
And what does he do now?
He's in school. He's also in school. Our schooling.
He's also in Central.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, music, school, if you had a chance to choose one of them, because you seem to have a solid educational background as well, if you had a chance to choose one of them and to be the best at it, would you be the best rapper or the most successful student? Which one would you rather go for?
I'd be the best rapper.
You'd rather go for the best rapper?
Because music is what I wanted. I decided to do music way back from JHS 1. That was when I decided to do music, listening to Sarkodie and other people.
So who motivates you the most? Which musician motivates you the most?
Sarkodie's life is just, you see how like music can transform one person. So
how music can transform one person, because his background was not the same as your background. He more or less suffered a lot. So you don't need a transformation per se.
But I suffered, but not. I suffered in a nice way.
I want to pull more suffering to yourself. Okay.
I suffered in a nice way. It was I wouldn't call it total suffering, but it was a bit like life was difficult at some certain points, and but
what are some of the criticisms you faced starting music, building a music career?
It was very difficult because people were telling me that this music in Ghana is whack, if I should put it that way, and I wasn't going to be successful, and other people were telling me to stop music and I should focus on my education, and so it was, the critics were there, but I decided to do me.
Okay, so those are the main things you're criticized for. Now, I think, I don't know if you already have that in mind, but I think that you should have maybe a few remixes to this particular song.
We are working on it. We are working on a couple.
Like covers, actually, not just one particular one. Have covers with different artists. It will be fantastic. Yeah. So you're working on some of the remixes. Would you give us a bit of inside information as to who is likely to be on the remix?
As of now, the only one I can say is Papi Kojo.
Papi Kojo.
Yeah. But we are working on a couple of them. And
Papi Kojo. He has what's his favorite catchphrase? Is it wait tway? Papi Kojo, he's a naughty young man. He's a really naughty person. If you have Papi Kojo and you have Joey B on a track, there's nothing decent about that song. Those two young men, there's a problem. There's a problem, but they're really good. Fantastic talent. So there's Papi Kojo most likely to be on your remix.
And a couple of them.
And a couple of other people as well.
Not yet finalized, but then maybe by the end of this month it would.
But I think it will be fantastic to have Papi Kojo on the song, and I would hope that you bring me a copy of the song even before it's out. I'm really looking forward to that. So probably maybe another music video to any of your other songs. But we do wish you well in this industry, of course, and of course in your education. You're in level 400, studying management, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. So if there's anything you had to tell someone who wants to do music, what message would it be?
The only thing I would say is that they should stay focused and pray. They shouldn't play with their prayers because prayer is the key. Honestly speaking, I prayed a lot before I even dropped the Do the Dance song. There were so many prayers that went that I had to do and other stuff I had to do. So prayer is the key, and then they should keep pushing. They shouldn't listen to people because if they listen to people, they wouldn't go anywhere. So that's the.
And if you had 5 people you could collaborate with, who would they be? Of course, I think Sarkodie will be in there, clearly.
Obviously.
And Papi Kojo, you already have a song with. So let's just go on to maybe 3 other people.
Kwesi Arthur.
Kwesi Arthur.
Yeah, because he's an old-time friend. And
oh wow. I think you have similar hairstyles, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he has this kind of.
He has added some dress to it. So I know 3 people with this hairstyle. You, Kwesi Arthur, and Jifa. She's going to kill me for this. Okay, so yes, Kwesi Arthur.
I'd like to work with more of the underground people because I feel like we are the future of Ghana.
The underground people are the future of Ghana.
So I'll go for Kofi Moli. I don't know if you know him, and then maybe a friend of mine, Tulenke.
Tulenke.
Yeah, that's his name. He's a very good rapper.
Okay, well, interesting. So do you have a girlfriend? You didn't think I'd ask you that question? Why? Don't you watch interviews? Yeah, I'll put you on the spot. Like, do you have a girlfriend?
Yeah.
How difficult can that question be? You either do or you don't. There's no in between on this one.
I don't.
You don't?
I don't have a girlfriend.
Now,
I have female friends, but I don't have.
Yes, but now at this point, I'm curious. Okay, why were you thinking for so long about do you have a girlfriend?
Because I was trying to absorb the question very well.
You absorbed every other question very well. You give straight answer, but when it came to this one, you're trying to absorb it very well.
To find out if it was female friends or like a girl.
It couldn't have been female friends.
That's what I was thinking.
So that one they know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I have female friends, but I don't have someone who I'm really attached.
Okay.
Yeah.
Solid. You have a lot of female friends.
Yeah,
a lot of female friends that you're very close to.
Yes.
Very, very close to.
Very
and the other female friends that are just your friends.
Yeah.
You see, I've cornered you. You see your life. Anyway, thank you very much, Eddie Khae. I think you're a fantastic talent. There's no, telling how big you're going to be, but largely it depends on God and it depends on you as well. So what's next for Eddie Khae?
We are working on a project. It's actually a tour, but more of a project. SHS tour. And the theme is you're okay without drugs.
You're okay without drugs?
Yeah, you just want to encourage the young ones, the students, obviously, that they can do anything they want to do without attaching drugs to it. So that's basically the next thing, or the thing, the major thing we want to do after Do the Dance.
I can't say anymore. Name your social media handles.
Instagram, Eddie Khae. KWDIE KHAE.
KHAE.
Twitter, Eddie Khae. The same spelling, and Facebook, Eddie Khae. Everywhere,
Super.
Eddie Khae.
Super. Thank you so much for joining us. And I must say that it's very important that the young people out there, whether young or old, if you're blessed with a talent, a voice to speak to the public, you should use it positively. This young man has decided to talk to secondary school students, SHS students, about you are okay without drugs, and it's very, very positive. So some of the music we have out there seem to glorify drinking and all those things, but he has chosen to speak against drugs. Solid. God bless you.
God bless you too.
Okay, stay tuned to Breakfast Daily. Remember to send your messages and comments still. Hashtag Breakfast Daily, of course, and the WhatsApp line 0550-585-832. Stay tuned. Do not go anywhere. Eddie Khae will perform for us once again. Thank you.
I know about that photo, saying tempted who I go talk to, yeah. This is Kwesi Arthur, and you're watching Breakfast Daily, ground up to the top, boy.
and welcome to another day, another week, and of course another episode of 30 Minutes. We're excited and we will be talking about all the trending conversations. Spend 30 minutes every weekday catching up with all the trending social media conversations of the day. If you tweet it, we'll read it. We might just even Skype you.
No, Shatta, why are you being so raw and hard like that? But at that particular time, that's what I wanted to do it. But that doesn't mean you are my enemy. We can still meet again and Shatta, this time we are about to do, don't come and do that nonsense. Okay, please, I won't do it. And we'll give respect to each other. But sometimes I feel, you know, when we are all humans. When somebody says something about me, Shatta, hey, no, I might want to say something.
Yeah.
So, but when I say it, people shouldn't take it like, taking things, you know, personal and stuff. I've understood showbiz now, and I really want to work on it. Like
30 minutes is all it takes, so use the hashtag 30minutes on social media to catch our attention. Join the most interactive social media TV show weekdays at 5 p.m. only on Citi TV.
For regular news checks as they unfold. 2020 news, all day, all the time. Politics, sports, entertainment, business, and more. 2020 news. We bring you the world in 20 minutes.
And that's all the news in 20 minutes.
Good morning, Ghana. Good morning, world. You're in tune to the Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. Stoneboy says so. Keep it locked. Don't log off. Bim.
Welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily. And remember, last Friday, we did this challenge of my manifesto, if I were to be president.
Yeah.
And from that, we decided to extend the deadline to the literacy challenge to today. So if you have not yet submitted your application, you have till the end of today to submit it to us right here at Citi TV or Citi.
The essay.
Yes.
Yeah, the application, of course, is in the form of an essay, you know, on the topic.
600, yes. So it has to be 600 words. The minimum is 600 words. Your script must be handwritten, and it has to be endorsed by your parent or guardian. And of course, the topic we are discussing is that it's 2035. And the law allows people below the ages of 40 to contest for presidency. So what will you do as president?
Exactly. So write your manifesto speech. So yeah, the literacy challenge. Remember, the deadline is 12 midnight tonight. It has to be submitted. It has to be here at Citi FM, Citi TV. And of course, the processes will continue therefrom. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. We hope you enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. We will see you same time tomorrow.
Yes. My name is Isaac Oberfors-Mensah.
And I am Jifa Ekuya.
And Eddie Khae would do the dance for us one more time. And hopefully Jifa will join her. Hopefully Jifa will join her, do the dance. Oberfors will not on this day do the dance.
I'll push him there,
don't worry. On this day.
Anyway, we'll enjoy watching.
Eddie Khae, you're super, you're fantastic. Okay, let's hear the song.
I'm done, Charlie.
So Righty. The figure say then did them up pick. But we just be the ideal ones. Straight. Yeah. Righty niggas. The figure say everybody now. Straight. But we just be the be like everybody they want to take me photo. No be giddy jigga for mellow. Do one fast, do one slow, do one solo. You for kai say you late levels. YOLO. For the boys, for the girls. To the niggas, hey. No say for the young girls. For the ones in love but they can't tell. Yeah, so put your hands in the air. Like you really don't care. Hey, see the left, see the right. Oh, you go there, you care. Do the dance, do the dance. Everybody, make us do the dance, do the dance. do the dance. Everybody make I see you do the dance. Do the dance. Do the dance. Everybody make I see you do the dance. Ah, do the dance, eh? Do the dance. Everybody make I see you do the dance. So Caspera, skiriba, ah, skiriba, eh. So Carado bet, I promise, I wanna. By the way, I just play. If you don't know them, my name be Eddie Khae. Give me space, I dey crazy. I don't want that in my body, dirty rave. For the love, for the hate. Moi, come myself to second cake. Out kids, I late. Baby, live in the star, my grace. No be now you go to young, no be now you go to talk, no be here. Where you go see your body say, if be true, no be false, maybe profit to be lost. If or not, so you gotta have a draws. Do that, do that. Everybody, make us do the dance. Give me fans, give me fans. I know they like us, so they give me fans. Pick up plans, nigga, pick up plans. This year, everybody pick up plans. Take your time, Eddie, take your time. I know be here, so I know go feel relax. Do that. Everybody do that. Ah, do that. Make us see your hand, do that. Yeah, about the pressure. About the pressure. About the pressure more. Straight. Yeah.